20 celebrities and famous people who were shockingly murdered.
They waited. They waited.
Fame may open doors to wealth, power, and adoration, but for some celebrities, it also led to a terrifying and tragic fate. Behind the glitz and glamour, their lives were cut short in brutal, shocking, and often mysterious ways. Their deaths became headlines, their stories became legends, and their legacies were forever marked by the violence that took them too soon. In this video, we uncover 20 famous people whose lives ended in the most shocking and tragic murders of all time. David Akeman.
Oh, my pretty little winter black cloud, and I'm gonna get her.
David Stringbean. Akeman was a beloved country comedian and musician, best known for his performances on Hee Haw and the Grand Ole Opry. His unique style and down-home humor made him a fan favorite. But on the night of November 10th, 1973, his life was cut short in a brutal and senseless act of violence.
They waited. They waited for them to come.
After returning home from a performance at the Opry, Akeman and his wife Estelle walked into a nightmare. Two robbers, knowing he preferred to keep his money at home rather than in a bank, had broken into their modest Tennessee cabin. As soon as Stringbean stepped inside, he was ambushed and fatally shot. His wife tried to flee, but she too was gunned down in cold blood. Their bodies weren't discovered until the next morning when a friend came to check on them. The crime shocked the country music community and left fans devastated. The perpetrators were later caught and brought to justice.
Truly sorry.
But the brutal murder of this humble entertainer remains one of the darkest moments in country music history. Lloyd Avery II. Lloyd Avery II was a rising Hollywood actor, best known for his chilling role in Boys and the Hood, where he played a ruthless gang member. But in a dark twist of fate, his life would mirror the violent world of the characters he portrayed. After achieving early success, Avery's life took a troubled turn. He became entangled in the street life he once depicted on screen, and in 2001, he was convicted of a double homicide. Sentenced to life in prison, he was housed in Pelican Bay State Prison, one of California's toughest facilities. But behind bars, his story took an even darker turn. On September 4th, 2005, Avery was found dead in his cell. He had been brutally beaten and strangled by his cellmate, a man known for his extremist religious beliefs. Shockingly, his body remained undiscovered for nearly 2 days, raising serious questions about prison security and oversight. A promising career cut short by real-life violence, Lloyd Avery II's story remains a haunting reflection of art imitating life and the tragic consequences of bad choices. Judith Barsi.
Best topic, boogie woogie like this.
Judith Barsi was a child star with a bright future ahead. Her sweet voice and natural talent landed her roles in beloved films like
Bet she's up there again.
But behind the scenes, Judith's life was anything but happy. She grew up in a household overshadowed by fear, as her father, Yosef Barsi, was known for his violent temper and controlling behavior. Despite warnings from friends and even social services, the nightmare inside their home continued. On July 25, 1988, that nightmare reached its tragic climax. In a horrifying act of violence, her father shot Judith and her mother, Maria, before setting their home on fire and taking his own life. Judith was just 10 years old. Her death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and led to deeper discussions about domestic violence and child welfare. Though her life was cut short far too soon, Judith's voice and performances continue to touch the hearts of audiences, keeping her memory alive. Sam Cooke.
On in the fun.
Sam Cooke was more than just a singer. He was a pioneer. Often called the King of Soul, his smooth voice and heartfelt lyrics shaped the sound of modern music. Hits like A Change Is Gonna Come, Cupid, and You Send Me cemented his legacy. And beyond music, he was a powerful advocate for civil rights. But his life was cut short in a shocking and controversial incident. On the night of December 11, 1964, Cooke checked into the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles. What happened next remains a mystery filled with contradictions. According to the official report, Cooke had been drinking and arrived at the motel with a woman named Elisa Boyer. She later claimed she fled the room in fear, taking his clothes and leaving him nearly naked. Cooke, confused and enraged, reportedly stormed into the motel's office, demanding to know where the woman had gone. In the confrontation, the motel's manager, Bertha Franklin, shot him 3 times, claiming self-defense.
Because Sam had received a phone call.
He was just surprised that he had made the decision.
Cooke was pronounced dead at just 33 years old. The official ruling was a justifiable homicide, but to this day, many believe the truth was buried. His family and fans questioned the inconsistencies in the reports. Why was he shot multiple times if Franklin feared for her life? Why did Elisa Boyer disappear after the incident? And could Cooke, a man who fought for justice in music and civil rights, have been targeted? Sam Cooke's death remains one of music's greatest mysteries, but his influence on soul, R&B, and activism continues to inspire generations. You won't believe the chilling details behind these shocking celebrity murders. Drop a 1 in the comments and stay with us as we uncover 20 tragic and horrifying cases that shook the world and left behind mysteries, scandals, and heartbreak. Bob Crane.
If you like photography, you wouldn't believe it. Who is it? Home movies.
Bob Crane was best known for his role as Colonel Hogan in the hit TV series Hogan's Heroes. With his charm, comedic timing, and all-American appeal, he became a household name in the 1960s. But behind the scenes, his life was far more complicated than the roles he played on screen. On June 29, 1978, Crane was found brutally murdered in his Scottsdale, Arizona apartment. He had been bludgeoned to death with an unknown weapon, and an electrical cord was wrapped around his neck. The crime scene showed no sign of forced entry, suggesting that Crane had let his killer inside. Suspicion quickly fell on John Henry Carpenter, a video technician and longtime friend of Crane.
For my whole career. Betcha. Smile.
The two had a close but controversial relationship, often engaging in secretive activities involving women and homemade tapes. Investigators believe their friendship may have turned sour, but the evidence was circumstantial. Despite a trial decades later in 1994, Carpenter was acquitted, leaving the case officially unsolved. To this day, Bob Crane's murder remains one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Was it a jealous friend, a secret enemy, or someone else entirely? More than 40 years later, the questions remain unanswered, and his tragic death continues to haunt true crime enthusiasts. Dennis Day.
D-review. Don't feel bad, Pat.
Dennis Day was once a bright young star, one of the original Mouseketeers on the Mickey Mouse Club. His infectious smile and talent as a singer, dancer, and actor made him a beloved figure in the early days of Disney television. But decades later, his story took a dark and tragic turn, one that left more questions than answers. In July 2018, at the age of 76, Dennis Day mysteriously vanished from his home in Phoenix, Oregon. Strangely, his car was found hundreds of miles away, driven by someone who barely knew him. Friends and family were left searching for answers, but for months there was no trace of him. Then, in April 2019, nearly 9 months after he disappeared, authorities made a grim discovery. Dennis Day's remains were found inside his own home. Even more shocking, his body had been there the entire time, undiscovered despite previous police searches. The case raised serious concerns about how the investigation had been handled. How did authorities miss his body for so long? And why was there so little urgency in finding him? While a suspect was eventually arrested in connection to his death, many believe the full truth remains hidden. Once a television icon, Dennis Day's final years were marked by neglect and mystery. His story remains a haunting reminder that fame can fade, but justice should never be forgotten. Jason Mizell.
MC 1 2 1 2. Mic check.
Jason Mizell, better known as Jam Master Jay, was the backbone of Run DMC, one of the most influential hip-hop groups of all time. As their DJ, he helped shape the sound of rap in the 1980s, blending rock and hip-hop in a way that changed the industry forever. Songs like It's Tricky, My Adidas, and Walk This Way made Run DMC global superstars. But on October 30th, 2002, Jam Master Jay's life came to a violent end. He was in his Queens recording studio when two armed men entered and shot him execution style. The attack was swift, cold, and calculated. The hip-hop world was left in shock. For years, the case remained unsolved, surrounded by rumors of revenge, drug deals, and betrayal. Many speculated that Jay's murder was a targeted hit, but without solid evidence, the investigation stalled. It wasn't until 2020, nearly 18 years later, that two men were charged in connection to his death. Prosecutors claimed the killing was over a drug dispute, but questions still linger. Even in death, Jam Master Jay's influence on hip-hop remains undeniable. His legacy lives on through his music, inspiring generations of artists. Yet, the mystery surrounding his murder serves as a haunting reminder of the dangers that can come with fame and success. Dominique Dunne.
You never had some baby keep crying.
Dominique Dunne was a young actress on the brink of stardom, best known for her role in the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist. With her talent, beauty, and Hollywood lineage, her father was famed writer Dominique Dunne. She seemed destined for a long and successful career. But instead, her life was tragically stolen by someone who once claimed to love her. Dunne was just 22 years old when her abusive ex-boyfriend, John Thomas Sweeney, took her life. Their relationship had been violent and volatile, and after enduring months of physical and emotional abuse, Dominique finally ended it. But Sweeney refused to let go. On October 30th, 1982, just weeks after their breakup, Sweeney showed up at Dominique's home while she was rehearsing for a new TV role. In a fit of rage, he dragged her outside and strangled her in the driveway until she fell into a coma. 5 days later, on November 4th, 1982, Dominique Dunne was pronounced dead.
If only I told her.
Despite overwhelming evidence, Sweeney received only a 6-year sentence, but served less than 4 before being released. The light punishment sparked outrage, with many believing justice was never served. Her family and friends, especially her father, fought to raise awareness about domestic violence, making Dominique's tragic death a cautionary tale for women in abusive relationships. Though her life was cut short, Dominique Dunne's legacy lives on, both in the chilling film that made her famous and in the continued fight against domestic violence and lenient sentencing for abusers. Enjoying this video? Like and subscribe for more. Not feeling it? A like would still be appreciated, and your comments will help me do better next time. John F. Kennedy.
Cannot help the many who are poor.
John F. Kennedy was the 35th President of the United States, a charismatic leader who inspired a generation with his vision of progress, space exploration, and civil rights reform. His presidency, though short-lived, was marked by historic moments including the Cuban Missile Crisis, the push for the Civil Rights Act, and the ambitious goal of landing a man on the moon. But on November 22, 1963, the world watched in horror as Kennedy's life came to a sudden and violent end. While riding in a motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, the president was struck by gunfire. The shots, fired from the Texas School Book Depository, fatally wounded him. He was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, but there was nothing doctors could do. Kennedy was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. He was just 46 years old. Authorities quickly arrested Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine with ties to communist organizations. But before he could stand trial, Oswald was shot and killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby, fueling speculation that there was more to the story. Kennedy's assassination remains one of the most analyzed and debated crimes in history. Was Oswald the lone gunman, or was there a larger conspiracy? The Warren Commission concluded Oswald acted alone, but skeptics point to conflicting evidence, eyewitness accounts, and the involvement of powerful entities. Even decades later, questions remain. John F. Kennedy's death left an indelible mark on history, but his legacy endures. His vision for a better America continues to inspire, and his tragic assassination remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the modern era. John Lennon.
Don't let me down, don't let me down.
John Lennon was more than just a musician. He was a cultural icon. As a founding member of the Beatles, he helped revolutionize music, shaping a generation with songs like Imagine, Strawberry Fields Forever, and Come Together. His influence extended beyond music. He was a fierce advocate for peace, love, and activism. But on December 8, 1980, the world lost one of its greatest artists in a shocking act of violence.
It can't be dead.
4 cops pulled John Lennon out and put him in. It was a terrible sight.
That evening, Lennon was returning home to the Dakota, his apartment building in New York City, when a gunman, Mark David Chapman, a man who had been waiting for him outside, called out his name. As Lennon turned, Chapman fired 5 shots, hitting him 4 times. Lennon stumbled into the lobby, bleeding heavily before collapsing. He was rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, but by the time he arrived, it was too late. He was pronounced dead at 11:15 p.m. He was just 40 years old. Chapman, who had asked Lennon for an autograph just hours earlier, later claimed he killed him for fame and personal obsession. He calmly waited for police to arrive, reading a copy of The Catcher in the Rye. Lennon's death sent shockwaves around the world, leaving fans devastated. Memorials sprung up across the globe, and to this day, Strawberry Fields in Central Park serves as a tribute to his legacy. Though he was taken too soon, John Lennon's music, message, and dream of peace live on, continuing to inspire generations. Danny Lockin. Danny Lockin was a talented actor and dancer, best remembered for his role as Barnaby Tucker in the 1969 film adaptation of Hello, Dolly.
Kelly.
134, take 1.
Yes, New York.
His youthful energy and charismatic performance made him a standout, and he quickly became a beloved figure in musical theater. Tragically cut short in one of Hollywood's most brutal crimes. On August 21, 1977, just hours after performing in a dance competition, Lockin went to a bar in Garden Grove, California, where he met Charles Hopkins. The two went back to Hopkins' home, but the night took a horrifying turn. The next morning, police arrived to a gruesome scene. Lockin had been stabbed over 100 times. The brutality of the attack shocked even seasoned investigators. Hopkins, who called the police himself, claimed he acted in self-defense. However, the nature of the wounds and the discovery of violent adult magazines in the home led authorities to suspect a far more sinister motive. Despite the horrifying crime, Hopkins was only convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison, a punishment many believed was far too lenient. Danny Lockin's promising career was brought to an unimaginable and violent end. To this day, his murder remains a haunting chapter in Hollywood history, a life full of talent and potential stolen in a moment of unthinkable violence. Sal Mineo. Sal Mineo was a Hollywood heartthrob of the 1950s, best remembered for his role as Plato in the classic film Rebel Without a Cause. His performance alongside James Dean earned him an Academy Award nomination, and he quickly became one of Hollywood's most promising young actors. But as the years passed, his career declined, and he found himself struggling to regain the spotlight. On February 12, 1976, he had just finished rehearsals for a play in Los Angeles and was walking to his apartment when he was attacked in the alleyway. A man emerged from the shadows and stabbed him in the chest, piercing his heart. Mineo collapsed and bled to death before help could arrive, when he was just 37 years old. For years, rumors swirled about the motive behind his murder. Some speculated it was a targeted attack due to his personal life, while others believed it was a random act of violence. It took 2 years before Lionel Ray Williams, a convicted robber, was arrested and charged with Mineo's murder. He claimed it was a botched robbery, not a planned attack. Though justice was eventually served, many believe the full story behind Sal Mineo's murder was never truly revealed. His death remains one of Hollywood's most haunting tragedies. A brilliant talent stolen in an instant, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate film lovers today. Stephanie Moseley.
She was one of my dancers for a while. It was
He's so loved and just too short, you know?
Stephanie Moseley was a dancer, actress, and rising star in Hollywood, known for her roles in VH1's Hit the Floor and The Twilight Saga. Her talent took her to the biggest stages, performing alongside Beyoncé, Jennifer Lopez, and Britney Spears. She was beautiful, gifted, and full of life, until her promising future was cut short in a horrifying act of violence. On December 8, 2014, Moseley was at home in her Los Angeles apartment when tragedy struck. Her husband, rapper Earl Hayes, became enraged over allegations of infidelity. In a shocking turn of events, Hayes shot Moseley multiple times before taking his own life. The horrific crime unfolded while Floyd Mayweather Jr., a close friend of Hayes, was reportedly on a video call with him. It's believed Mayweather witnessed the murder as it happened, though he later refused to comment publicly on what he saw. Moseley's death was a devastating reminder of the dangers of domestic violence. Those close to her were heartbroken, left wondering if more could have been done to prevent the tragedy. Jack Nance.
There was a fish in the percolator.
Jack Nance was a unique and unforgettable actor, best known for his role as Henry Spencer in David Lynch's surreal classic Eraserhead. His distinct look and ability to embody strange, compelling characters made him a cult film icon, leading to memorable performances in Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks. But on December 29, 1996, Nance told friends that he had gotten into an altercation with a stranger outside a donut shop in South Pasadena. He claimed he had been punched in the face, but at the time he shrugged it off, laughing about the incident. However, by the next morning, he was found dead in his home. The official cause of death was a subdural hematoma, a brain injury that resulted from blunt force trauma, a direct result of the fight. Despite this, no arrests were ever made, and the identity of the person who struck him remains unknown. Some believe it was simply a random bar fight gone wrong, while others speculate that it could have been something more sinister. To this day, Jack Nance's death remains a strange and tragic mystery, a fitting, albeit heartbreaking, ending for an actor whose career was defined by eerie, unsettling roles. His legacy lives on through his unforgettable performances, but the questions surrounding his final moments remain unanswered. Hip-hop.
The gangster rap world has been shaken again, this time by the violence.
His smooth flow, vivid storytelling, and larger-than-life persona made him a rap icon with hits like Juicy, Big Papa, and Mo Money Mo Problems. On March 9, 1997, Biggie was in Los Angeles to promote his highly anticipated second album, Life After Death. After leaving a music industry party at the Peterson Automotive Museum, he was sitting in the passenger seat of a GMC Suburban when a car pulled up beside him at a red light. Within seconds, an unknown gunman fired multiple shots, hitting Wallace 4 times. He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but doctors could not save him. The murder of the Notorious B.I.G. came just 6 months after the killing of his former friend-turned-rival, Tupac Shakur, fueling speculation that their deaths were linked to the East Coast versus West Coast hip-hop rivalry. However, despite numerous theories, conflicting witness accounts, and rumors of police corruption, Biggie's killer was never brought to justice. His posthumous album, Life After Death, became one of the best-selling rap albums of all time, solidifying his legacy. Though his life was stolen too soon, the Notorious B.I.G. remains one of the greatest rappers in history, his music and influence living on for generations. If you like this video, please leave a number 9 in the comments below. Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro was one of Hollywood's first great matinee idols, rising to fame in the silent film era with his dashing looks and undeniable talent. Best known for his role in the 1925 epic Ben-Hur, He was often compared to Rudolph Valentino as one of the era's most desirable leading men. On October 30th, 1968, Novarro, then 69 years old, was brutally beaten to death in his Los Angeles home by Paul and Tom Ferguson, two brothers he had invited over that evening. The young men believed Novarro kept large amounts of cash hidden in his home, but when they couldn't find any, they tortured and killed him before fleeing the scene. His body was discovered the next day, and the crime sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The Ferguson brothers were later arrested and convicted, but their sentences were shockingly light. Both served less than 10 years before being released. Many believe that justice was never fully served, especially considering the brutality of the crime. Ramon Novarro's tragic end became one of Hollywood's darkest true crime stories. A once beloved star, murdered by greed, and a justice system that failed to hold his killers accountable. Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate was the embodiment of Hollywood beauty and rising stardom in the 1960s. A talented actress and model, she gained recognition for her roles in Valley of the Dolls and The Fearless Vampire Killers, as well as for her marriage to director Roman Polanski. But at just 26 years old, her promising future was stolen in one of the most gruesome and infamous murders in American history. On the night of August 8, 1969, Tate, 8 months pregnant, was at her Los Angeles home, hosting friends while her husband was away in Europe. That night, members of the Manson family cult, under orders from their leader Charles Manson, broke into the home. What followed was an act of sheer brutality. Tate and her friends were tortured, stabbed, and killed in a scene of unimaginable horror. Tate pleaded for the life of her unborn child, but her cries for mercy were ignored. The next morning, police discovered her lifeless body stabbed 16 times, along with 4 others who had been brutally murdered. The Manson family murders shocked the world and symbolized the dark end of the 1960s era of peace and love. The killers were later captured and sentenced to life in prison, but the loss of Sharon Tate remains one of Hollywood's greatest tragedies. William Desmond Taylor. William Desmond Taylor was a silent film actor and director, well respected in early Hollywood for his work on films like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. A former actor turned filmmaker, he was known for his sophisticated storytelling and keen directorial eye. But on February 1, 1922, his name became synonymous with one of Hollywood's greatest murder mysteries. That morning, Taylor was found dead in his Los Angeles bungalow, shot once in the back. At first, police believed it was a natural death, until someone rolled his body over and discovered the bullet wound. The case immediately became a media sensation, exposing Hollywood's dark underbelly of scandals, secret affairs, and buried truths. Suspects included famous actresses, jealous lovers, and even studio executives who may have wanted to keep certain secrets from getting out. The most infamous of these was Mabel Normand, a well-known silent film star who was one of the last people to see Taylor alive. Another suspect was Mary Miles Minter, a young actress rumored to be in love with Taylor, as well as her overbearing mother, Charlotte Shelby, who allegedly owned the same type of gun used in the murder. Despite multiple theories, no one was ever charged, and the case remains one of Hollywood's most enduring unsolved mysteries. Some believe Taylor was killed because of secret relationships. Others think it was due to his ties to bootlegging and organized crime. To this day, the identity of his killer remains unknown, adding another dark chapter to Hollywood's long history of scandal and mystery. Carl Switzer. Carl Switzer, best known as Alfalfa from the beloved Our Gang, later known as the Little Rascals, was one of Hollywood's most recognizable child stars. With his signature cowlick, mischievous charm, and off-key singing, he stole the hearts of audiences in the 1930s and 1940s. But like many child actors, life after fame proved difficult. As he grew older, Switzer struggled to find steady work in Hollywood. He took on small roles in films, worked as a dog trainer, and even became a hunting guide. His once promising career faded, and he became entangled in financial troubles and personal conflicts. On January 21, 1959, at just 31 years old, Switzer's life came to a violent end. He had loaned a hunting dog to a man named Moses Bud Stilts, but when the dog went missing, Switzer offered a reward for its return. After paying the reward, he later demanded reimbursement from Stilts, leading to a heated argument. The confrontation escalated into a physical fight, and in the chaos, Switzer was fatally shot. The killing was initially ruled self-defense, with Stilts claiming Switzer threatened him with a knife. However, years later, new accounts surfaced, suggesting Switzer may have been unarmed and that his death was unjustified. The tragic fall of Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer remains one of Hollywood's forgotten tragedies, a former child star whose innocence and fame were left behind, leading to a life of struggles and an untimely, violent death. Though gone too soon, his legacy as one of the Little Rascals lives on in the hearts of generations who grew up watching his mischievous antics on screen. Rebecca Schaeffer.
That's what it's all about. Can I get my nose pierced?
Rebecca Schaeffer was a rising star in Hollywood, best known for her role in the hit sitcom My Sister Sam. With her natural charm, talent, and promising career, she was on the brink of stardom. But her life was tragically cut short in a senseless act of violence that forever changed the way celebrities deal with stalking and fan obsession. On July 18, 1989, Schaeffer was at her Los Angeles apartment, waiting for a script to be delivered for what could have been a career-defining role in The Godfather Part 3. Instead, she answered the door to her killer, Robert John Bardo, an obsessed fan who had been stalking her for 3 years. Bardo had obtained Schaeffer's home address through private investigator records, a loophole that allowed fans to access celebrity addresses. He had even previously attempted to meet her on set, but had been turned away. That morning, when Schaeffer opened the door, Bardo shot her in the chest at point-blank range. She collapsed, and within 30 minutes she was pronounced dead at just 21 years old.
A fellow here that's been here lots of times, who has...
Her murder shocked Hollywood and led to a massive legal reform. California quickly passed anti-stalking laws, making it illegal to obtain someone's address through DMV records. This later paved the way for the first ever anti-stalking legislation in the U.S., which is now standard across the country.
Look at her, oh my God, I killed someone, oh no, no, just going on. Why?
Though her life was stolen, Rebecca Schaeffer's tragic death was not in vain. Her legacy lives on, not just in the roles she played, but in the protections now in place to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. The tragic deaths of these celebrities serve as a chilling reminder that fame offers no protection from jealousy, obsession, and violence. Some of their killers were caught, others escaped justice, and a few remain mysteries that still haunt Hollywood and beyond. But their stories refuse to fade, and their legacies continue to inspire, shock, and intrigue. Which of these cases surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. For more gripping stories of the dark side of fame,